I didn't
trying
do
to
it internally
bridge
with
it
people
beside
who
me.
recreated.
I said,
We didn't have a building.
and it's like,
But that's
you're
where
too fat.
I would have waited a couple of months. And you have to have your
You're
weird,
too
because
big.
Jansen, who bought the old, like he's gonna build the suit, right? So
the motion on dates and
this is
times
where,
separate from the
in my,
bylaw.
like I didn't say it to Colin and Jess, but 20/20 hindsight's always awesome, right? But I wanted to say, why didn't you guys wait a few
And then
months?
we've got the calendar.
I know you're ready, you were wanting to do something, but in what you're
The
doing
calendars for
is a
reference
unique,
or the rules, Robert's rules.
great, you know, and it's bubble caging. I don't know. I think he's doing
Doesn't
well,
look like very
but
much. I have some.
you buy an electric bike.
Bells.
Yeah.
My grandmother was big, she had
But I
a
meant for
China
rentals
cabinet
and
and she
stuff.
had all sorts of
Like you go
stuff
down to
in it,
Waterton,
and,
their bike shop is just hopping
Yeah,
like crazy
I've
with their
never-
rentals.
Nobody does that anymore.
yeah,
6 o'clock.
the
We
only
couldn't,
thing
we
I'm
couldn't
here
give
to-
away my mom's
There's
china.
a place, I
Yeah.
think it was in
But we wanted it.
It was just sharing with
Every
everybody,
Wednesday
like
they
teacup.
go
I have
shopping.
jeans
Okay, here we go.
Alright. Okay, well,
And you're on.
I'll go get your arms.
we are at 6:10, and we are going to open the GPAC meeting at 6:10. I'm just opening up an extra window here on my iPad. Here we go. And we'll call that to order. And adoption of agenda, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll give you that.
Council Waring, in haste, gives me an adoption for the agenda. All in favor? And that is carried. Delegations, we have none tonight. Bylaws and policies, we do have 4.1 staff report on council procedure bylaw number 211118 and bylaw 211120 to amend council bylaw number 191093 by dissolving the finance advisory and governance and priorities advisory committees and establishing a committee of the whole. Mr. Patience, would you like to intro us through our setup here tonight?
Yes, thanks, Mayor Crane. Apologize for that little glitch of the report. So, really got 3 orders of business tonight, I guess, Lisa, and because this is a lot of lead services information here as well, I'm gonna certainly have Lisa well involved in this conversation. So, as you can see in the staff report, which we will add to the agenda tomorrow online for those that are viewing and don't see it, it's because it was somehow lost in the uploading. We had, if you recall, council had previously moved their council meeting dates effective January 1st to the first and third Wednesdays of the month at 7 o'clock, and that was to accommodate Councillor Gordon, the commitment Councillor Gordon had. Black Diamond had actually shifted their dates off of Wednesday at that point, and has since, I now understand, shifted them back, or at least they're considering shifting them back.
Done.
Yeah,
Done.
It's
done.
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 So now they're back to Wednesdays
It's
again?
done.
Yes, nonetheless, what we're proposing is, and this is the first kind of easy bylaw actually dictated this, and you'll see in the redraft that we've removed the dates out of there and simply now say council will set meeting dates at their inaugural organizational meeting instead of having the dates literally in the procedural bylaw. So all we're recommending here is to rescind the motion that was put forward 21-11-01-02 that Councillor Rabb made setting the meeting dates for the first and third Wednesday commencing at 7 p.m. effective January 1st. We're suggesting that we just, that the committee, GPAC committee, recommend the council to rescind that motion and set the meeting dates at first and third Wednesday of each month commencing at 6:30, which is the same time as we're currently employing. So as opposed to starting at 7 o'clock, start at 6:30. And closed sessions would still be at 5, so just a day change, not a time change. Does that make sense?
So we'd be on the same day as Black Diamond,
Correct.
which is not a good plan.
Well, I would say this, they've changed it twice, we've only changed it once, so it's completely up to council. The idea was to move it off of Mondays to give more time to review the packages. So, I'll leave that to the will of council.
Yeah, kids are upset too, eh? Pass Gabriel away.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so council discussion then, regarding the date change, which is what we had agreed to originally. So, Waring, you have some conflict with it, why don't you tell us your logic behind that, and then we'll go from there.
My logic is that when both councils meet on the same night, it doesn't give an opportunity for either council to be involved by watching or even going to the other council on a representation basis. From time to time, if you're on a committee like West End or Shrug or even Parks and Rec, there's times when you need to go to the other council for a presentation or to take part in something. As well for third party organisations who are doing presentations to both councils, that means they've either got to find extra people so they can do 2 on the same night in different places, or they're going to be 2 weeks apart. So for me, I would prefer that we were not on the same night.
Okay. Dixon, your thoughts on it?
I'm wide open for whatever night. I suppose Mondays are probably the best night for me, but I'm certainly wide open to any evening.
Okay.
Except for one particular date, but we'll talk about that later.
No. One date is what it is. Councillor Martin?
It doesn't really matter to me. Is Tuesday a date that nobody would want? Would that give administration any extra time?
It's Lions Night.
Oh, Lions Night,
That's right.
pardon me, okay,
That's why they rescinded in black diamond.
okay.
Yeah, no, right now, basically the motion that we put forward for the Wednesday, to change it to the Wednesday, so it's basically, are we gonna stick with the Wednesday, or is there enough movement that we would go back to another day? So,
I'm fine
from the
with any
original.
day.
Deputy Mayor Holday.
I just think that if we have people that wanna come to both, that we just have to be aware of that and schedule them differently on the agenda. We can move delegations to later I'm assuming. Right, and if somebody's driving from Calgary, it would be nice for them to come out one night and hit both councils, so I actually think it's a benefit having it the same night. And I personally, in the 4 years, haven't attended Black Diamonds in person for like, how often that happens. If
Done
you've
it
done
a
it,
few times.
you've done it a couple times, yeah, I think we can work around it, so I would rather just keep it, I'm happy with 6:30 and keeping it as is
Wednesday,
on Wednesday.
as the mission.
Yeah, 'cause Tuesday doesn't work, and it would be nice to get it off Mondays, so we don't have to change it for stat holidays, and so we don't have to, so we have a little more time to prep that's not weekend.
Okay, Councillor Gordon?
Yeah, I'm in favor of starting 6:30 on Wednesdays.
And point blank, I'm same thing. Wednesday, 6:30, I'm good with moving forward on that, so. I actually like your idea though, that kinda makes sense if we know there's a delegation, they communicate it, we can spread it out and say, hey, as soon as you're done on either one, you come over, we'll put you right on that agenda at the very next drop of a dime.
Absolutely.
Cause that's
Yeah, bring it
happened
straight in.
regularly, right?
Yeah.
Like even with TC Energy a couple of times,
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
coming through.
Yeah.
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 Well, there is a sidebar to this, if I might. Goes through, doesn't change any meeting nights.
Exactly.
If everybody's
Well, that's a
logged
good
in on the
point.
same
That's
night,
the-
and it doesn't interrupt anything else.
That's the silver lining, right? Okay, thank you for your thoughts on that.
We moved West End to Wednesdays.
What if you did?
We did.
But second and third, or second and fourth, huh?
Full.
So once a
So
month.
there you go, now you're even, your Wednesdays are
They're
booked
during
now.
the days.
Wednesday for me, in all honesty, Wednesday for me is the best day for meetings.
Excellent.
Especially in the summer, because I don't play golf on a Wednesday.
Well, and Brad will be happy that we stick with this too. So, there we go, I think that clues up that.
So you wanna put a
So,
motion
straight
forward?
motion for that,
So we're not making
Recommend to
motions
council.
tonight though.
We've
Can't
recommended.
make
that's
Make
right,
a
we're
recommendation.
GPAC now, so.
Go ahead and make that motion, Cindy.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I will motion to recommend to council to,
Rescind.
schedule our regular business meetings for the first and third
Can I
Wednesday
help you with
It's
this?
to
each month at
rescind.
6:30.
Can I help you
Oh,
with this?
rescind, yeah,
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
can,
it's actually, we have actually the wording in here, so,
Is it missing?
Is it,
Where is
or
it?
is it?
so
Yeah.
second paragraph on the second page. So, that committee recommend to council to rescind resolution 21110102 and set the 2022 regular council meeting dates for the first and third Wednesday of each month commencing at 6:30 effective January 1st, 2022.
Yep.
Is that what you were,
almost exactly what I said.
perfect.
That was perfect. Which page was that? Sorry, Sean.
So,
you're
second
learning.
paragraph,
He
page
was
2.
listening to you.
Alright,
Oh, on the backside.
right here,
Yeah,
it's on the
backside,
backside.
yeah.
That one.
Right there.
Oh,
Once you have enough on the
Okay,
backside.
right here, yes,
So,
there you go.
yeah.
I
the-
see.
The committee recommends that council
Yeah.
rescind.
Oh, in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so, you wanna read that again, or?
Yep, that council, or that the committee recommend that council rescind Resolution number 21.11.01.02, and set the 2022 regular council meeting dates for the first and third Wednesday of each month, commencing at 6:30 p.m. effective January 1st, 2022.
Perfect.
I do have a question on that.
Absolutely.
Do we need to include the fact that closed sessions would be starting at 5? That doesn't need to be in the bylaw? Okay.
These are regular meetings, so the
Gotcha.
closed session would be at 5, and actually, a very good question, and we actually did cover that, but you can certainly add it to the motion. I don't think that hurts a bit.
Alright, I'll take that as a,
Friendly amendment then?
Actually, you don't have to do that, because we do advertise if there is a closed session, we make sure that it's on the sign, on the package, so that everybody's aware, and it's not required.
Because our closed session could be after as well.
That's correct.
Correct. Could be,
So yeah, let's leave that.
Evening meal will be served between
4:30.
Oh, you're making
This-
cucumber
This is the
soup.
guy that brings his own buddy and didn't do anything for anybody else.
well, there wasn't enough for everybody, so I
I'm kidding.
didn't know how to. I couldn't do the loaves and fishes.
We'll all be treated to a councillor wearing bread pudding before this term is done.
You make a good bread
Be
pudding,
rest
Josh?
assured.
You make a good bread pudding?
Okay,
alright, moving on.
we have a
Westwood
motion. We're gonna vote on it if there's no other comments. And all in favor of the motion, and that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Alright. One down, 2 to go, Mr. Patience. Lead on McDuff.
Thank you, alright, so, Lisa, I'm gonna have you weigh in on this now. So the second portion of this is really your procedural bylaw.
Okay.
Lisa has gone through this, for a number of reasons, and one was to remove the dates and times for council meetings, as we had discussed previously. Now, council did give first reading to this amended bylaw, correct?
Yes, November 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So a number of amendments have been made since that, and most of those post-meeting amendments that have been made have been done to reduce the size of your procedural bylaw and to essentially eliminate all of what was in there in terms of MGA reiterances, and Robert's Rules of Order items, essentially, to just streamline it a little more. Lisa, do you wanna add anything to that? She's also provided you with both a red line version and a clean version.
Makes for many attachments, thank you.
Well, and sorry, council, just so that you're aware, when we looked at this document, it's very onerous, like it's over 18 pages as it sits today.
Can we reduce it more?
Can we make it longer?
No, I'm
Let's see
being
what
serious.
Lisa says.
We can do whatever councils will. You tell me what you wanna do. I thought I did good on the
No, you
cleaned
did
up
very
version.
good. You did very good.
Down to 11,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and that still has a lot of stuff in it, but you gotta remember too, a lot of portions of the MGA kinda leave it open to
Mhm.
council by bylaw can set their procedures, so that's why some of this stuff is a little bit longer.
Mhm.
For instance, in your previous procedures bylaw, under section 13, public engagement with council,
Mhm.
you guys had a lot of really good information in there on how you guys were gonna deal with members of the public, communications including correspondence, delegations, general inquiries and what have you. For some reason, that was removed from your current bylaw.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, so there was some issues on, and some different views on how the public should be able to, before we used to just let them, if you had a question, you show up in a meeting and 5 minutes before, you could like write it down and talk to us. And previous admin didn't like that and wanted to kinda
Formalize it.
formalize it, I guess, and it got muddled. So I'm happy to have it back, but we do need to have, cause it's not in there now, a clear deadline, or if we're gonna go back to the 5 minutes before, like I think we still have the, do you still have the post up there, question period?
13.2 for question period,
Yeah,
right?
but, Yeah.
Doesn't say when they need to have the question.
It
in.
doesn't say when we need to they can have the question, or if there's a deadline, or correspondence, like there's no deadline for the questions or the correspondence. So I would like it as flexible as possible, but previous admin did not, so it's,
Okay, currently I'll address the correspondence issue. Right now you have kind of a quasi policy in place regarding your correspondence. Anything and everything that is addressed to mayor and council, mayor and council, will be added to the next agenda, regardless. Usually I make a point to make sure that Barry and the CAO are both aware of the correspondence as it comes in. If it's an emergent matter, you may need to call a special meeting, and that's usually how most municipalities, that's how you handle correspondence. That goes for emails, letters, phone calls, whatever.
Mhm.
Usually with phone calls, we ask them to provide stuff in writing, so there's a record of it. As far as the question period, that one I didn't wanna put too many constraints on, because essentially if somebody shows up for a council meeting, right now we're limiting public presence here. But when we do open up, of course, our chambers, they're more than welcome to come in, sit. There's forms there, they fill one out, they give it to us, and we make sure the mayor has it. So it's basically when they show up, they fill it out and they give it to us. But we can put a time.
Councillor Ray?
I just got one question there. We did say that people weren't permitted to ask questions about anything that's on the agenda that evening, and I don't see that there anymore.
I thought I just read that.
And isn't that because of municipal affairs recommended?
Isn't it under section Article B, 13(2)B?
Oh,
Oh, it's not in there.
No, it's in that.
actually, the question stuff, it says to be presented 5 minutes or less, and has to be handed to us, so.
Yeah, but we always had the rule that nobody could ask a question in question time regarding any item that's on the agenda that evening.
You'll find that in your red line version, I believe, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's under the scratched out part under C in the yellow. Will not entertain submissions from the public on the following issues that are on the current
Sorry,
agenda.
Am I looking?
Yeah, no, did you want me this is all for your debate, however,
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
you guys want, what you feel
I'm
comfortable
I'm
with.
reading through the one with all the yellow and red.
Yes,
So,
that's where it is.
I would say, my opinion on that one, if you turn to, it's page 7, 13.2 question period, the red line version.
Yeah.
Because in Article B of this, you say that the mayor and CAO may not permit a question being addressed at the regular council meeting regarding. And if we add an Article 4 there, I would say it would fit, regarding any matter that is on the agenda, on that evening's agenda, or that meeting's agenda.
That's
Make
not
it
what I'm reading here.
No, I'm adding it, John. I would suggest that that's where it's added. Cause there's already a prohibition under Article B 13.2 that prohibits any question being addressed at the regular council meeting regarding, and then we add Article 4 regarding, and then we make it clear that regarding any matter on that meeting's agenda.
Okay, so which ones do you wanna add? Because if you looked at the yellow on the following page, you've got the current agenda, subdivision, so your SDAB, or before the courts of law, or a public hearing.
Has that
Do you
been
want all of
clarified?
those added in?
No, I don't know, because you have number
We've
1
got
already
public
there,
hear-
right?
Yeah, public
Like,
hearing's already there.
yeah, Article 1 already takes care of you probably would, my opinion on that, I would probably like to see courts of law added, and then any matter under review on the upcoming meeting,
On the current agenda.
on the current agenda, yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
What about the subdivision appeal board?
yeah, I think that one.
Would that not be covered under 1?
It's legal, isn't it?
Yeah,
SDAB usually is with regard of a bylaw, is it not?
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
No, not necessarily. Could be an application, could be,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I might,
Okay.
Now that's-
I might
that's
suggest,
maybe-
does not hurt to put that in there, honestly.
Okay.
Doesn't-
So add those 3 then?
That would be my
Okay.
advice, yeah.
Council? Some head nods would be just enough.
You see what we're talking about? This portion here is being taken out, some relevant items.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna add those, Councillor Gordon, would you like to vocalize those?
Yeah, that council directs administration to bring to the next, how do we word that?
Well, we're just gonna
That's
add, we're
just
just
a
gonna add them in
direction.
here.
This
That
is
is
direction.
just a direction.
Yeah,
We're
it's
not
just a
gonna- we'll
direction,
amend-
just for the camera, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll just amend the bylaw.
Just admin direct, or pardon me, council direct admin to, add certain elements under 13.2, Article B regarding the SDAB, upcoming agenda,
Mhm.
and there was a third one,
Courts of law.
courts of law.
Perfect, that's all, just nice and
Perfect.
loud for the camera.
Thank you.
Good thing. Okay, perfect. Cindy,
So should we have in there that they can show up 5 minutes before council meeting? Is that part of the procedure? Should
I'm
that be
fine
in
with
It's
that.
there already, Cindy.
Where is it?
13.2, A number 2. The question is to be presented in 5 minutes.
No,
or-
that
oh,
means they
sorry,
get
not
5
in.
minutes to
I
speak.
misread
It
that.
doesn't say
Yeah, it
that they
doesn't say
can.
the submission.
That's my
Because
fault, sorry.
Before they were specifically prohibited, you couldn't, unless you brought your question the Wednesday noon prior, you didn't get it on the agenda.
I'm personally, I'll just jump in.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine to a meeting 5 minutes before saying, I got a question and I want an answer.
Yeah, so
Good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
transparent.
Yeah.
Yep, we're here. That's what you want.
It's
If
a
you went
question
through the energy to
period.
get here,
Yeah.
stick her down, hand her over. We'll get back to you as soon as we can.
And if we can't answer it that night, that's what we
Then,
tell them.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's in there.
That was wrongly.
So I'm good, I'm totally good with that.
Ask all the questions you want, you're not gonna get the answers.
Alright, so if we could just get that maybe clear, that procedure, that, and where they can be submitted, by phone or
Okay.
email or showing up at council meeting and filling out the form,
Prior to the
5
meeting.
minutes prior to the meeting.
The person or group shall wish the matter considered council letter communication, be addressed in letter council communication. Same thing, little different.
Okay, so going back to some of the stuff that, we deleted.
Yeah, we actually have it as noon here. Do you see that?
Yeah, I was looking
It's under
13.1B.
13.3, Article A, Article 2. It's to be submitted to the manager of legislative services by 12 noon the Wednesday prior to
That's
the.
delegations.
For
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
sorry, it's
delegations and
I
presentations.
gotta wake up. I'm tired.
No, that's okay, yeah, we wanna keep that, right, if they
Yeah.
wanna
Yeah.
come with the delegation with the presentation, we want that
Absolutely.
in
Yeah.
advance.
Okay. Okay, excellent, okay.
Sorry.
Okay,
Moving.
so, under section 20, of course, bylaws, your bylaws are definitely very clear in the MGA how they have to be performed, so you don't need all this stuff that it includes this, that, and everything else, because the MGA tells you you have to.
Mhm.
So I added a few paragraphs and tried to delete as many as possible. Just to make the bylaw run a little smoother, I took the elected officials' orientation and education stuff, put it near the end, because in the front part it deals with meetings and your meeting procedures and protocols and what have you.
Training is just a one shot. usually.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make it read a little bit smoother for both council and members of the public if they ever have a question. As far as the meetings for council, section 4 and 5, that's basically what we amended when you gave this bylaw first reading.
Okay.
Any questions?
There is one piece at the front I wanna point out though, before we discuss this further,
Okay, ready, Sean?
and that is under council, meetings of council, 5C, pardon me. I believe this used to read council and governance and priorities, if I recall.
What number is that, Sean?
5B.
Sorry.
E. 5E. 5E.
E.
E. E is in Edward. Regular, special, and governance.
Sorry, it's 5C in the new version.
Yeah, the
Okay.
new version.
Yeah, so it used to include governance and priorities, which I
Yeah.
found strange, cause it didn't include finance advisory,
Oh, it's
so
here.
why they were being differentiated, I wasn't sure. But you will notice, and this is important, that in both 5C and 5E, we have added committee of the whole.
Yes.
So that leads into the third portion of our meeting, which is a proposal to amend the committee's bylaw to remove the Finance Advisory Committee, Governance and Priorities Committee, and combine those into a committee as a whole so that we can do everything at one meeting.
I like that.
And I see, Hazel. I think I've got your question. Right here. Can you explain clearly the advantages of the committee of the whole?
Yes. I can explain several advantages of it, actually.
Hold on 1 second. Hazel,
Just use the
was
word.
that the correct one? Was that correct answer?
Were you officiating?
I was. I just wanted to really use that in a meeting. As soon as I touched it, I was like, oh, I gotta use that.
I thought the
That's-
emergency alarm had gone.
This is okay. You know what this is, don't you? This is the Newfie version of the gavel according to Robert's rules. The whistle.
The whistle. I looked down and I was going, I still got my ref
I'd
whistle
like
on.
one of those so I could blow it when somebody's talking
Well,
to me.
if Rab was here, I would have used it by now to cut him off. But I just,
Better than the
I just
gavel.
had to do it. But that was Hazel's question. I knew it was because I was thinking the same thing. Tell us all about the advantages of committee of the whole. So, if you would, that'd be awesome.
So why didn't we get rid of it?
We were-
Yeah.
we were told
They didn't
not
want
to
too
use
much
it.
discussion.
So,
It's the truth.
your governance and priorities are specified essentially around policy bylaws. Your finance advisory committee was essentially dealing with budget and finance issues. So, for us to bring forward your quarterly financials, which we just did, we have to call a special finance meeting, which we just did, which took 15 minutes. So, the committee of the whole allows us to discuss anything.
Yep.
It's not pigeonholed into a
And
bylaw,
it's
policy,
discussed.
finance, it could be capital, it could be recycling, it could be anything. And it's an opportunity for council to speak and to have those long discussions outside of the council meeting, so you're not having a 5-hour council meeting. You have the opportunity to have that discussion and debate outside of a formal setting, while we still televise them. And it allows us to put anything on that agenda, we're not pigeonholed by anything. The one thing I do wanna mention, and council is obviously gonna be well aware of this, the committee structures are slightly different for GPAC and for finance. And what we're proposing is that simply the committee of the whole is the committee of the whole, which is all members of council. So that is a slight variance, as you all know, because you do have public members on your finance advisory committee. So I don't wanna hide that fact. So it's something I've always been familiar with and always utilized. We would use them for budget, we would use them for literally anything. If we had a topic that was going to be of long discussion and debate, we would filter it through committee the whole meeting so that we could eliminate those 11:30 council meetings and those long discussions, right? So it's a potpourri, it's a stew of meetings essentially. It allows us to put anything onto those agendas and it's wide open.
And very importantly, it's open for the public to witness.
Of course, all your meetings are open to the public.
Mayor,
Where?
I think the idea of the finance committee with members of the public involved in the finance committee was to give members of the public an opportunity to partake and speak and give opinions. I don't know how we would then be able to get that interaction with the public if we're on committee of the whole and people don't have an opportunity to speak.
If I might, you can certainly allow delegations at your committee of the whole meetings, that is well within the parameters. And I will also add this, and if I might, I don't mean this derogatorily at all, and please don't take it that way. You're really only having 1 or 2 members of the public that have that opportunity, the rest of your public does not get that opportunity, so. You know, this is about being open and fair, and everyone has the opportunity to watch, come in and sit in on your meetings. Now, I also want to impress that it is no different than council if we're dealing with issues revolving around items pertaining to FOIP. Committee of the whole has the opportunity to also move into closed session to deal with those items, so.
As Councilor
We're not
Ryan said,
there
we
yet.
used to have a committee of the whole.
Yeah.
And we would hold the committee of the whole in the daytime,
Yes,
3 hours sometimes, especially around budget, and have just straight up conversations. Then we would close that meeting, open a business meeting, and we would be prepared to do business.
Yeah.
And then your main berth of discussions was covered. public was aware,
We,
and they could see where we went.
I remember now, when we had this session with Municipal Affairs, the lady from Municipal Affairs recommended that we stop doing it.
And why was that?
The recommendation
It's
didn't
boring.
come from admin, it came from
No, even
Municipal
Heather too,
Affairs.
she double checked, cause we had huge conversations about that.
You did?
It wasn't founded on a lot of, my opinion on that. I think the advice from Municipal Affairs on that when they were with us was more of a personal preference than not.
No, but I'm right, they did make that comment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, in the
yeah.
session we had with the two ladies here,
Because I
right?
personally liked committee of
Yeah.
the whole, I
Yeah.
thought it was good.
Well, I will suggest that it is still well referenced in the Municipal Government Act,
It is.
so.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I think it's time we utilize it, especially with a new council, new members. You have more questions, so that's a great time that you can vet those inquiries and really,
We can
you
have
know,
a more,
when you really wanna follow up on something, you can say, and then what happened, and well, what's the history on that? And you can actually have that conversation because you've allotted that time for it. I'm gonna go to Lisa first, she had a comment, and then I got Cindy and,
Okay, just to clarify, although this is a open session and you're allowed to speak to a lot of different topics, you cannot hold statutory hearings. You can hold what they call non-statutory, which are basically open houses, just for clarification, especially for the new councillors. And I know a lot of different municipalities prefer this venue for an open forum, because you can discuss audit as well. Like your audit's coming up in a few months, you're gonna wanna do that. It's gonna eliminate the number of meetings that you're supposed to have. We haven't been doing that since I've been here. It's been kinda, whenever there's a meeting, maybe we should call one. And it's just because you've got several new staff, we're getting a feel for the operations in the organizations. So I think this will organize your meetings for the public, so they know, okay, end of January, they're having this committee of the whole, do we need to come and talk to council about something? And then
Nice
that
cadence.
gives them that avenue to schedule
I like it.
accordingly.
I got Cindy first, right, and then you.
So I obviously have lots of opinions on this, but I see the writing on the wall, I will admit that right out from the get-go. We've never had good buy-in from administration on these committees, and we've never actually used them the way that we envisioned from the start. The purpose of having the members at large for Curtis and Hazel was because we've done a sucky job at getting the members or the public involved in our finance budget, and we have to do better at that, and I'm hoping that's something that we do over the next term. So at least it was something as far as transparency. Also, there will come a day where we have a council that has no finance background in any of, like, we were really lucky last time, we had Jamie, myself, and if you had somebody that was committed, you know, that was coming, that had finance background, I think it's a benefit for a council if they don't have that. That being said, it was never intended to be come and let's just do reports from admin and like this little bookkeeping exercise. It was, both committees were supposed to be strategic in nature, for long conversations, not just, I don't know,
Rubber
just an
stamping
extension,
almost.
rubber stamping. And it was to make us start looking at budget earlier in the year instead of leaving it till November, to actually have regular ones and to come up with something better. You know, like there's a term, I heard it at AUMA and I really liked it, but having, you know, your year laid out, you know, maybe we're gonna look at capitals earlier in the year, or get a public engagement, do something earlier, those kind of things. And it never happened, and part of it, I know, yeah, we got it going and then I got a concussion and it just kind of was what it was. But potential there and a desire from the public in the 2017 election to get a finance committee. So this is kind of it is a slap in the face to the public. But I see the writing on the wall, and we have to have something that works for admin and us. But it can't, committee of the whole can't turn, I don't want it just to turn back into,
Needs to be strategic.
yeah, and not having it in the evening, I think, is a problem. Yes, I know we wanna get management in, but it's a chance for us to speak more freely, and having all 7 of us there, which works best in the evening, is important to me. So I don't really like it being in the daytime.
Are we debating this too early though? Isn't
Yeah,
it later in the
yeah,
agenda?
maybe.
Like, you're right though,
Yeah, you're right. So I'm
cause
just
I
laying
wouldn't
it
want
all
it
out
during the
there.
day either.
Yeah, just laying out my feelings that this, if we do this, it needs to be the chance for us outside of the formal council meeting to actually discuss what council cares about. And it has to be strategic, and it has to, we need to find ways to engage better with the public and do
Mhm.
some things earlier and more often than, it feels like anytime we get to something really important, we're out of time to discuss it a lot of the times. So that's my thoughts. So I'm happy to try something new. You know, we've got new admin teams, so I'm hoping that it turns into something great.
I think it will. John then Lisa, or Lisa then John? How do you feel? Are you a gentleman today? I think you are. Lisa, your turn.
Just to comment on Deputy Mayor's comments, the structure that we have for this committee of the whole, if you notice, it's bi-monthly. If you look at the dates that we've chosen, they kind of align with budgeting. The one in August will be to talk about your committees. So end of August is when you wanna prepare for your organizational meeting to get your committee. So it does have a strategic and priorities component to it, and that's why when I was thinking of it, I was looking at your priorities, your strategic plans and whatnot, and that's why I kinda molded it into that type of a thing. I don't want this to turn into something where we just throw something on agenda for you, so you have a meeting.
Yeah.
The dates are specific, and the reason being is when you're going into your budgets, your audits, your committees, and your other things, these all fall into those particular time periods.
Awesome. Great catch. Where?
It's been so long, I've forgotten what I was going to ask.
Sorry, thank you.
The committee of the whole, you can't make motions and make decisions, can you?
Same as your,
It's same as
same as
this.
your GPAC and finance
Yeah.
advisory, their recommendations to council.
It's not a business meeting in the fact that you're gonna actually action anything, you're gonna talk about things, have a good open discussion, feel the thing, and then it goes forward to the next council meeting to make
Yeah,
actual
you make
motions and
recommendations, you
decisions.
hold minutes just like you
Yeah.
do with the other ones.
I knew that was for the benefit of
And if I might, and Deputy Mayor, and I understand we're
I think we're one ahead too early.
Well,
Well,
no,
I don't
because
wanna-
we have to approve the council procedure bylaw that we're referring to.
that's why the
Okay.
reference, yeah, and that's
So-
why I wanted to put
Yeah,
that on.
yeah.
So can we
because-
go through the terms of reference now
Yes.
and make suggestions then?
Okay. So let's go to Hazel first, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna do exactly that.
I don't think my question really relates to this, it was just a question about the financial committee. Can their role expand? Cause I had a conversation with Bill, and he felt that maybe they could have an expanded role. Is that a possibility?
That would be a perfect discussion for a committee of the whole.
Yeah,
Yes.
can I?
Yeah, absolutely, because that's kind of where you were
We have
going.
to rethink public involvement in the budget, cause we haven't done it, well, we haven't done a good job of that, I don't think.
We're directed to do it by municipal affairs, to allow residents to have input into the budget process, as I understand it.
Mhm.
So whether that's a committee of the whole and that people can show up and we allow them question period,
That's what
or
I'm looking at the
or
terms of
what,
reference.
like,
Yeah.
there's gotta be something better, or to be able to, I don't know.
Let's discuss it, let's
Yeah,
go to
well,
page 37 here,
when
the
we
terms
get
of
there, yeah.
reference.
I did
Do we
have a
need to do
couple
that now?
questions back on the council procedure bylaw, though,
Before you
first.
leave that though,
Mm-hmm.
I really do like the energy that you're bringing to that conversation. I will say this, I have used that committee as a whole tool many times in the past for budget, not for only developing the budget, but for utilizing it in an open house forum for
Yep.
the public to come
I was
in
gonna say,
and have, answer any questions, bring any discussion to the table on the budget, so that we do open it up to them.
Yeah.
So really, I don't look at it as like a slap in the face to the public, I actually look at it as perhaps even get more involved in the budgetary process, right? So, we can make it whatever you want us to make it, and it's a moldable tool, and that's what I do like about it, the parameters. there's no walls to work within, we can utilize it however you would like to utilize it.
So,
Okay.
I'm looking at the members in composition, so point 4 in our terms of reference there. Could we not include that in there? That because we have it composed, consisting of the members, the chair shall be the deputy mayor, if the deputy mayor, so on and so forth. Would that not be the place to then include that the committee of the whole may, have an option, or may include a delegation for members, for members at large, if you will, to participate in the discussion? Could we not put that in our membership and composition?
I think we have it in here somewhere if I,
It's just members, council, or duration of the term officer.
Anybody?
Yeah,
Mayor.
just-
And Bill could have a
I
letter.
think it's under working principles,
Is it working principles? I was looking for it, sorry.
or it's, no,
receive delegations, presentations, meet
What-
with other municipalities.
Which number was that in the
It's
terms of
6.
reference? Sorry.
under 6.
Working principles.
Budget audit, transportation development, legislative, any other town business, non-stat hearings, receive delegations and presentations, meet with municipalities. So like it is, it's really just, it's wide, it really is wide open.
I just wanted super clear, like, cause I've, you know, I've only been in 2 meetings with Bill so far, and he has a lot of, valuable
Mhm.
things to bring.
Sure.
And prior to that, a neighbor of mine who was on the committee as well did as well, has moved now, and I wanna make sure that we make it very clear that our residents are encouraged to participate in this in a form that allows them to participate in it. It's one thing to say, come to chambers and hear what we're discussing, but it's totally another thing to say, come to chambers and feel free to participate because we wanna hear what you're saying, to make it a true open house.
Yeah,
Can we put that in there somewhere? Or
I honestly don't think you have to, I mean,
It's
that's,
the way it's
That's our
set up.
option.
and not every meeting has to be that way either,
No.
by the way, like you can adjust as required, right? So the point really is to allow that flexibility, right?
Okay,
Just to tear down the walls.
I like it.
And honestly, it works, whenever your meeting is it's an official meeting, right? So this allows you to just flexibility to do whatever you need to do in that meeting, and if you've got other members of other councils, if you've got the public. And like I said, I've used it very successfully in the past by, you know, putting it out on the website, putting your proposed budget out there, you know, saying we'll have a 3-hour committee of the whole session, public's free to come in, we'll throw out some coffee and some, you know, snacks, and they can have a candid conversation, with council members, ask questions, and for an individual like Bill, for instance, who I think that does certainly bring value, he can be as much a part of that meeting as he is a finance meeting, so it doesn't move them out of the process, but it opens it up to everybody else as well, and I think that's the
I
important
think that's
point.
valuable. So I guess a follow-up to that then is number 5. If we're doing this bi-monthly, is there any way we can push it later in the afternoon? I know I'm being selfish with that
No, it's
request,
totally
but
up to
my
you
work,
guys, we
my work
just threw this
schedule.
out for, this has to work for council, right?
You've also got it on the 4th Wednesday, which is when we have
West End, right?
End.
Yeah. It could be whatever day, we know Wednesdays, the second Wednesdays are JFAC, so.
It doesn't have to be a Wednesday.
I was
No.
gonna say, does the terms of reference have to dictate when?
No,
No.
it can
So
be
we just
called
say
as
just-
required.
Bi-monthly, and we could
Yeah,
set
bi-monthly
those
as
dates.
Yeah, but then it gets
Yeah,
but
but
then-
then you're.
If
then
you've
you're
got a
losing
date in
cadence,
your
right?
calendar, you can
Yeah.
work around it.
True.
Well, but if you know it's every other, you know, every other.
Well, we know Mondays right now have been blocked out for a while, so why don't we go with the first Mondays?
That's usually holidays,
Uh,
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, 3rd Monday maybe?
That's
Third Monday?
Victoria Day. Yeah, it's
You,
Victoria.
But
you
that's
might
just
be
one
better
day.
off going with, say, a 3rd Tuesday or a 4th
Don't like
Tuesday.
Tuesdays or Thursdays.
No, I like the
Personally.
Monday,
I
but
like
we got
Mondays and
January,
Wednesdays.
March, we're clear, and we're clear. May, we're clear.
4th Monday.
4th Monday would be May to for a weekend, kinda.
That's the
Right, so if
only
you
one.
went to first Monday, you'd be clear in January, you'd be clear in March.
But some of those
January
months don't have two council meetings marked up anyway.
Yeah, if you're doing the first or third, you're
January
only 2 days ahead of a council meeting, that's the only challenge with it, right? So
Mhm.
ideally, it would be between a council meeting
Mhm.
somewhere.
Well, we can leave that up, let them throw some dates in the calendar.
You might, I think every, fourth,
Hang on here.
how
Well-
many times,
Pulling up
every
my
4
GPAC.
months, we've got a 3-week break in between council meetings?
Yeah. Well, I guess the
We
most
fit it
important
in
thing
there
is
that
1 o'clock in the afternoon
Doesn't work.
doesn't work
Not for you,
for
I
me,
think.
doesn't work for Jonathan,
Yeah,
works for Waring and Rab.
No, doesn't work for us.
I'm wide open.
That's right.
On the third, on the
On the
fourth
fourth,
Wednesday,
it's
it
no
doesn't
good,
work
cause
for
you got,
Rab and I.
so for me, it'd be an evening meeting would be preferred. And this can be, you know, a new council can reset that date if they so choose.
yeah.
But for me, it would definitely have to go to an evening, 6 to 9 type thing. So, yeah, why don't we get a date locked down and just get it out of
If
the
you
way?
want the public involved, it's better in the evening.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so how about second Tuesday? Even though we hate Tuesdays.
We like Tuesdays in the evenings, but we don't like them in the daytime.
Okay,
Is that
there
work
you
for
go.
you, Barry?
Yeah,
No, it's
so-
mine.
Second Tuesday would
Yeah,
be fine.
'cause mine's first and
Okay,
third.
so
So
we've
then I'll go
got
second Tuesday?
January is
For me,
good,
but I'll make it.
March is
we have
good.
Oh, Cindy, are you sure?
Well, I
No,
just,
she
I have the
teaches.
weekly youth group, but
May
I
is
can
good.
make one meeting a month, I don't, or one.
It'd just be one,
Time,
yeah.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
only
it's
one
better
every
than
bi-monthly,
Once
so
bi-monthly,
yeah,
so.
that'll be okay.
Which Tuesday, the second?
The first, yeah, second Tuesday,
Yeah, those all work on the calendar.
yeah, okay,
Fine.
good.
Cool.
That was a total guess, Hazel. Total guess. All right, good.
Yeah.
No, that'll work. Okay, so let's put that in there.
So do you
And-
still want them in January, March, May, August, and October then? Do you wanna leave them
Think
that
so.
way?
Totally fine with that, yeah.
Yeah.
We might wanna put it in there or as required, because you
Yeah.
might
I
during
have
budget
With,
want
with
to
an
Oh,
add-
that's a
as
good point,
required,
Cindy.
yeah, because we might end up hitting something, especially with amalgamation on the table. The committee to hold is a great spot where we can beat around some of the things that we'll have to deal with.
So we can add that to number 5 as well.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
as
as
so I
required.
could just put it so that on the second Tuesday at, what time did you want them at?
6 p.m.
6?
I
So do
guess
you wanna
so.
go
Yeah.
earlier?
Six,
What works for IDC? We usually meet at 6. It's not bad for members at large.
six gets us supper at least out of the way, so we're not coming in
Yeah.
hangry.
We
Right.
don't normally eat till seven.
Are you a little hungry, Chief?
What time is that?
Councilor
6.
Waring just ate an entire dinner in front of all of us too.
Yeah, because by the time I get home, it's too late, and before I came here, it was too early.
I was thinking about what Hazel said
I
to
did
me
it
last
night
week.
to you, so fair
You
fault.
could bring in some food.
Bring
Well,
donuts.
I think I'm gonna treat the new counselors to Chinese.
Oh, God, no. It's not
So-
Chinese you buy.
No,
Okay, so
Um,
I've added as required
yeah, or as required,
and
yeah.
maybe cancelled at the call of the chair and the mayor.
Cool.
The reason I have the deputy mayor in there, that's usually a rule of thumb in most municipalities, gives the deputy mayor a chance to chair meetings.
I had that on my list of things to talk to you about.
That's cool. Great
I-
opportunity, Cindy.
It is.
And prepares you for any regular meeting.
Well, I could have
'Cause
known
I
about
flubbed it
that,
up.
I just
I
went to
totally
deputy.
messed
Oh,
it
did you?
up.
Oh, she
You
was
did.
fine. She was
You were
Yeah.
I kinda like the fact that you have the deputy mayor in there, because of course we alternate that role, and everyone needs to have that experience. And then to cancel it, you actually have to have the two heads to actually say, no,
Right.
you know, so one person can cancel, but two, okay, it better be serious to
It is
cancel.
recommended by municipal affairs that from time to time, councillors get the opportunity to chair the council meeting,
And that's in here.
even though the mayor himself, the special person, is in attendance.
Take it away. Oh,
Fantastic.
I
I
actually
know it,
think
right?
I'm gonna
It's in
take
here.
advantage of
Yeah.
that and
It's in here.
kinda sit back
Read
and
the
just
third paragraph
bicker
under
for a
4.
bit. Bring a whistle.
Third paragraph,
Under 4.
Imagine.
On the procedure bylaw?
No, in your terms of reference, section 4, the third paragraph.
yeah, but that's normal anyway.
Yeah, if the deputy mayor is absent,
He was talking about council
I'm
meetings.
talking about council meetings,
Regular council.
regular council meetings,
and you
Yeah.
can,
yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
It's the
just-
same as this.
But our new people don't know this, so that's why I made the mention of it.
Yeah, so you have
We
that
get
in
a
there.
So they can start.
You'll
So
get
you
your
can-
chance
If
to,
she's not
you
sure
can't,
how
don't you
to
worry
create a
yourself.
whole, you can nominate one of
Then you'll
those
see
two.
why.
I keep finding myself sort of almost,
That's a good start though.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
I see somebody put their hand in there, and I'm like, that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy.
Okay, anything else, Cindy? Cause I know you got a scroll over here, you think it was the dead ski you got straight.
It's a toilet roll for it.
No, it's not that bad.
No, it's pretty good.
No, can we go back? I still had something on the council procedure bylaw. There was definitions, and I remember asking this last time and it never got cleaned up. The point of order, point of procedure, point of privilege, question of privilege. I think point of order and point of procedure are kind of the same, and I think point of privilege and question of privilege are kind of the same. And I tried to look it up and I don't have the actual real Robert's rules books, but nowhere has all four, so I think some of them are interchangeable. So if you could look into that, I don't need an answer.
Councillor Gordon was pretty up to date on that. Point of order is kind of like something ignorant has been said. So you would say, Councillor Waring, point of order, that's inappropriate, right?
Yes.
I've heard that before.
You have, you
Heard
have.
that recently.
Yeah. No,
Point of privilege though,
it
the
gets-
difference there, Councillor Gordon. Cause I know you utilize them quite often.
Yeah, cause that's a good question when I was reading that through, cause you have point of privilege and question of privilege.
Yeah.
Point of privilege, one, you're raising the question where you feel it is. The other one, my understanding is, maybe Lisa can help me out with this, my understanding is point of privilege is you sure it is. Like, you have gone against the Roberts rules in this manner, and it, like cussing and swearing, right? Like using, doing an F-bomb.
Guilty!
Yeah,
Blowing whistle.
doing an F-bomb is point of privilege, where you stand, the chair has to recognize and say, I call a point of privilege, Councillor Waring muttered an obscenity against Councillor Martin, and you have to deal with it immediately. Question of privilege would be, I feel Councillor
you
Waring
say
said some,
something?
yeah, exactly, it's
Yeah.
questioning what, so that's the difference, right? One is you're adamant it happened, the question is, you know, you don't wanna offend Mr. Waring, so Councillor Waring, I kind of feel that you used a term that might not have been accurate. Did you say what I think you said? And gives him an opportunity to say no.
It's because I spoke
Am I
in
correct,
English.
Lisa? Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Pretty much, right?
No.
To understand.
Sounds about right.
No, because I don't know. It needs to be relooked at. Maybe it is, but we're a small town, and do we really need
It's very,
the confusion of both?
go ahead,
Would be
Lisa.
my questions.
I think literally we just copied and pasted that out of the well, that was in the old one, right? We just never took it out.
Yeah.
This was in the old one. The
Yeah.
only reason I left these in here is, and I've seen this in my few years of
Yeah.
experience, sometimes a contentious issue will come before
Mhm.
council, and some people feel very strongly about it, some members of council, and they'll speak out of order, they'll have side conversations. This just gives your presiding officer a tool to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's all that's meant for.
It should be
It doesn't
called-
happen often, and it hopefully doesn't happen with you people,
Yeah.
but this gives you a tool to be able to deal with it.
It
That's
should-
all this is
It
a
should be
tool
called
for
a
you
point
guys.
of wrath.
So my understanding, like, I think we had a good illustration of this, where I think Andre Shabbat was actually incorrect when he called it a point of order at the AUMA. He should have called a point of procedure.
Yeah, so
Because-
it's really confusing.
Because if you look
so-
at the point of
yeah.
procedure, it's raising a question directed to the prior officer to obtain information on a matter or parliamentary law or the rules of council. So when he was calling to question the use of the online voting tool, that should have been a point of procedure,
That's
so that it would have given the chance for the presiding officer to find out the information. My understanding with a point of order, and this is when Andrew Shabbat called it a point of order, in all the research I've done, a point of order has to be dealt with immediately, and you can't table it. So when the presiding officer tabled it and said, we'll come back to that, that was actually an error,
Yeah,
because it was called a point of order, not a point of procedure.
there was a lot of muttering about that as
Yeah.
well.
So Andre,
They'll have a parliamentarian there too, to correct those kind of things, but I didn't notice one this time around.
there wasn't, it was poorly handled, you know, cause that, It did raise a thought in my mind. I did
There
say
you
it,
go,
right?
right?
I
Sorry.
said point of order, that means it's gotta be stopped and dealt with and you can't move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So if I wanted a point of order, technically, in Robert's rules, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm supposed to stand,
Yes.
you recognize me, and I say, Chair, point of order, this conduct is unbecoming,
Mhm.
and then I would say as a point of privilege, Councillor Waring has
Yeah.
uttered a comment against Hazel Martin, and it's on you to deal with it, and the rest of the meeting is halted. Pretty powerful stuff.
So if
It
we're,
can be.
yeah, it needs to be explained better than what those definitions do,
Mm.
I think.
Yeah, they're
Or
pretty
down on
loosely,
your,
They
or
are.
down on the Roberts rules,
they're
They're deep
watered
in-
down.
They are.
yeah, cause I
Very
couldn't
watered
quite
down.
No, it's a
tell the
rule of
difference.
order for parliamentary decorum.
So maybe,
governing
yeah,
decorum.
I don't know if you could have like added to the cheat sheet,
No,
It
not
is.
really.
more explanations, I didn't
Oh,
see it.
Isn't point of
The
order
point
when
of
you
order, I
stand
don't know
next
if
to
I
the
have that.
barmaid
No,
and
it's
say
not.
mine's a pint?
So if there's any way to clear it up, because I wouldn't use it correctly, I've been here 4 years, there's no way I would, yeah, there's no way I'd do it.
The
correctly
only
based
thing
on
that we really ever encountered here is probably a point of order. There's been I think maybe 4 times we've had, I'm guilty for one, Waring's guilty for one, Rad's guilty for one.
Just one?
We're being nice, right?
I think it's 3 tonight.
You know, but a point of order is something that we'll actually use when there's some muttering of obscenities, right? People get frustrated, it's 10 o'clock, it's 10:30, we've been here 6 hours and getting a little irritated.
You mean like last night?
Yeah, right? A little bit. Yeah, almost. So, if you're on Councillor Gordon's level, you can get in some pretty serious debate.
And it's the only reason I've studied that out is because, honestly, well, one of the committees I was on, it was like, this is not being chaired properly.
Yeah, so
I'll
it
leave
is
it
a
at that.
powerful tool, and if you have a hard council to deal with, you would have to do your homework and enforce it. I think we've been lucky enough to have pretty respectful
Yeah.
table, and I love the fact that our council always speaks about the respect that we have at this table, because if not, it would be very difficult to chair. And so yes, it is something that we can definitely probably clean up. I don't deny that. But the watered down version for the public is kind of like you just need to understand the very simplest concepts.
Well, but
You
this
just
is
want
for
them
us.
clean.
This
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
council procedure. This is somebody that's got no experience coming in
Coming
as a
in.
new councillor, needing to know what the difference is, and
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me
Yeah.
based on those
Yeah. We used to have
definitions.
a folder. It wasn't Robert Rules for Dummies, but it was a 3-pager
Yeah,
that used to
just
sit
follow
up
it. Where is
here,
it?
and it was really good.
That's what Lisa was talking about.
So maybe we could find another one of those,
Yeah,
and that could be
Yeah.
part of the. It's it. All right, she's got
Yeah,
it.
Lisa's, I think her name was one of them.
Okay,
All
all right. So there was so that can come off your scroll list.
No,
I just.
My notes?
I got so many good questions that I pull off of her cheat sheet, and then I go, I have a question. And then she goes, I'm hiding my notes from now on.
Isn't that like what the deputy mayor's role is?
Yeah, right.
That's what
Make
I thought.
notes on the
Make the
side.
mayor look
Defeat the
good? No,
mayor.
I'm kidding. Here, mayor, that's this one.
That's this one. Okay.
That's funny.
Okay, moving on to the next one.
How many
That
does
was
she
it
have?
on that. Everything else was to do with the terms of reference, which, yeah, I just wanted to get back to that, cause
Right.
then I'm done with the council procedure bylaw. I
Right.
think it's great, your changes were fantastic. I
do
like that
have
it's
one
cleaner and smaller.
Much cleaner.
Just if we could, yeah,
Okay, yeah, no, I
maybe somebody
definitely-
explain the difference, those 4,
A little bit more clarity.
just
Absolutely.
so I would know how to use them properly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And hopefully we don't need to use them.
Yeah, I hope
Mm,
not.
it's a good call.
So, under number 18, administrative inquiries, just a question for admin. Point A talks about bringing an administrative inquiry in writing by 12 noon the day of the council meeting. Do we wanna change that, since now we've changed
Yeah,
when the
5
agenda packet is due, so that admin can be ready for meetings by Wednesday? Do we wanna have that time? I'm just throwing it out there, just
Yeah,
Just
should
asking a
that should
question
move to Monday.
of admin.
no,
Like,
something-
what would be better for admin to make it sure it is part of the agenda?
Well, if it's gonna be part of the agenda, it's gotta be in by Friday, right?
Well, we could still keep it at the Monday, or the Wednesday prior, because then we can still do our agenda approval on the Thursday. That shouldn't change. Then it gives administration the 4 days to make sure everything's in order. So really, we're just bumping the 2 days, and it softens the blow for administration coming into Wednesday. So if we keep our Wednesday noon the same, and the Thursday agenda approval by deputy mayor and mayor the same, then it really gives administration a bit of,
I'm looking
A
for
lead.
more lead time for the admin to do it properly, that's just my opinion.
What if it was noon Monday prior to the council meeting?
Yeah,
okay with you guys?
That'd give us
at least 2
2
days,
days to at least,
Yeah.
it would not appear on the agenda,
but
but it would, instead of the day of the agenda where you may not get a response, it would probably allow, response the bulk of the time anyway. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That'd be fine with that.
Monday's good.
Sure.
So we're gonna move to Monday?
by writing by 12 noon the Monday before the council meeting,
Monday,
just to
yeah.
give admin some lead time, that's my thought.
It gives you 3 days then.
Oh,
Yeah,
Fine.
You choose
Yeah.
2
Okay.
days.
what do you think of that, Cindy?
Yeah, I'd be happy for Monday. I just wanna, for Hazel and Curtis's benefit, explain
Mm.
what we've been using the administrative inquiry
Evaluate.
for. Usually it's either something that we've been hearing lots from residents that we just want a quick answer on, and those ones, yeah, they can knock them off. Or if there's something that we've got an idea for a notice of motion,
Mhm.
or something that we're working on that we're interested in, a little pet project, that we wanna get information from admin before we actually submit a notice of motion, it gives you that tool to say, hey, can you tell me, I don't know,
Street party, right?
yeah, I don't
Curtis
know.
wanted to do a street
I'm
party.
working on it.
Yeah, you
Well,
could,
yeah,
you
but
could
more-
bring that in as an inquiry and say, how hard is it to shut down the road, the parking lot? Is there a cost from CPOs? Do we need to have it barricaded? Does it need to be guarded by, flashing lights or not? So, da-da-da-da. It starts the process where you can get some answers, but you can take that further as well.
Yeah, so if it's some big ask, like I want them to, I don't know, generate numbers that are gonna take them days, and it's gonna cost a lot, then it actually has to be approved by motion by council that we want admin to actually spend their time doing that. And, or they may just say, no, your idea's dumb, and,
Sidewalks
And it
is a
gets
great
whatever.
example, right?
Yeah.
We want you to tell us how much, it would cost per cubic yard of
Cubic
sidewalk,
yard.
or lineal
Linear
yard.
yard.
I'm pouring concrete right now, so I'm all cubic yardage. Right, so we wanna know the cubic yard price and how much to do all of Royal. Well, that's gonna take us a few days to, okay, good, we're giving you 2 weeks' notice, then they come back with that, right?
If it was asphalt, I could tell you within 3 minutes.
yeah.
And then,
Cause then you would,
Because I know
by
what the
having
costs
that,
are.
by having that information, you would know whether you wanted to proceed with the notice of motion that you want to
Exactly.
Have the
proceed with
debate.
paying it all and get it actually
Yeah.
debated on.
right, so,
Yeah, they're great tools.
it's a council tool.
Yeah.
Right, so, okay, so that one's off the books.
Can I move for
I have nothing else.
recess? Just a quick
Yeah,
bio
absolutely, yeah,
break.
5 minute bio break, absolutely. Recess, 5 minutes, boom.
Thank you.
Or, Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'll give you 1 minute.
I watched.
Don't even know what
okay.
you're talking about.
So,
Go ahead. You're up.
thank you, and we're gonna come out of recess and get right back into it. So, I believe we've finished up with our second area here, and we're ready for a recommendation, is that right? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I'm so lost in this right now. Deputy Mayor, you finished the last point, so what motion are we looking at here? Motion, ding, ding, ding. We just wanna move it forward, do we not, Sean?
Move it, yeah.
Yeah, just recommend to council,
Second reading,
recommend second reading to council, procedural bylaw.
as amended,
Yeah.
cause we
as
made a
amen-
few
as
amendments.
As amended.
Yep.
Always that as amended.
Thank you, Councillor Ware, for that motion.
Great, whoa,
With
great
age
motion.
comes wisdom.
3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 5,
2
1,
and 3.
1, 2, 1.
2 and 3.
Good defense. Do you wanna name the bylaw first?
I'm not making a bloody motion. I don't even know what we're talking about.
You're gonna make motion on the second reading of bylaw. and the
21
number-
dash 1118.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Council
1118.
procedure bylaw number 21 dash 111 with
As
amendments
As amended, yeah.
As amended.
Be brought forward to the next
moves forward to the December the 6th meeting
for
for
second reading.
second reading.
Second and third,
And
so
third.
that we can
Yes,
advertise?
second
For
and third.
consideration of second and third reading.
Yeah, because Rab will never agree to 3 in one night, but he.
No, I
You'll
second
go-
and
you'll
third.
go with
Come
two.
on.
He'll go with
Just
two.
need
Yeah,
two.
second and third. Yeah.
You'll go with 2. All right, excellent, thank you, and
Yes.
thank you for the debate. Any further debates?
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
So looking at the,
You're picking
on
on
that
me.
point, later on, it does talk about how we're to use them.
Oh.
And we use a question of privilege before we use a point of privilege. It's in the bylaw.
There you go.
Yes, go ahead.
More to learn.
All in favour?
All in favor? Thank you, that's good. All right. 2 down.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the last piece is really as conversation has sort of veered
Yeah.
onto it, it's really looking for a recommendation to amend, I wanna make sure I get this right, to recommend to council's bylaw number 211120, which essentially amends council committee bylaw 191093 by dissolving and removing the terms of reference for the Finance Advisory Committee and Governance Priorities Advisory Committee and establishing the Committee of the Whole to be governed by the terms of reference in Schedule A.
All right, there you go. Schedule A, Council Committee of the Whole, terms of reference, guys and gals. Any questions regarding that? We kind of did already pound over this whole thing, but Councillor Gordon just commented prior to the vote just on the difference between the question of privilege and the use of it. So if you wanted to just
Yeah,
vocalize that for
Just
us.
it is actually, I commend administration, you did put it in a different order in our bylaw actually, where you talk about a point of order, a point of procedure, and then a question of privilege. And the question of privilege presents it as if you do have a question about somebody's conduct in some way, shape, or form. So I can't find that right now as I'm scrolling
As
through.
it's lost
There we are.
again.
I did find it. It is number 14, control and conduct of business, Article J. So if you want to make reference to that on how we're to be using them, it's pretty well laid out there. Yeah, there,
Article
you
J.
did. You did
A
well.
member
Article
may
J.
Call a point of order at any time the member believes that a rule pertaining to the conduct of the meeting has been violated. 2 is call a point of procedure at any time the member requires more information about the rules of council or parliamentary law, or a call of question, a question of privilege at any time the member believes the comfort, dignity, safety, or reputations of the organization or an individual is at stake. So, is that state or stake?
It's state.
It should be state.
Dave.
Yeah. So,
And then the
So
next
question
page
of
tells
privilege
you
is
what
there
you're
you go.
supposed to do with them as the chair.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
But we need to add point of privilege, cause that's not in there.
Well, yeah, we could probably do that, call question of privilege or point of privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be an I for number 4.
J4.
Yeah, I think it could be question
J.
/ point
Point.
of privilege.
Yeah, cause they're
Is
related.
probably what we should have in there.
Yeah.
Because some people call it question of privilege, some people call it point of privilege, but it's
No,
not exactly the same.
totally
but it's
different
two
things. They're two
Totally
different things. That's the whole thing. They are two different things.
A point of procedure, a point of order. So you're talking a point of order, not a point of privilege, or
No.
a question.
There's a
of privilege.
question of privilege
That's
and
right.
a point of privilege under
Right.
our definitions. So we need that.
Right, clearly defined.
Yeah.
Even though we don't use it.
Yeah.
Yes, because here it says, when a point of order, point of procedure, or a question of privilege arises, it should be immediately taken into consideration and ruled on by the presiding officer.
So there should also
Immediately
be
as
a
well.
point of privilege
Okay.
added to that. If we're gonna keep with all 4.
Yeah. So can we get a point of procedure?
No,
Yeah.
Privilege.
it's right this, it's
Oh
this
my
one.
gosh, there's too many P's, they need to change the lettering.
In our definitions, we have point of privilege.
It's
And
point
We
of
have all
privilege.
4.
We have all 4.
There it is, yeah,
Okay.
right.
So just a bit of clarity on that
Yeah.
one.
Oh, you
I can see where you got confused now.
Well, and if you go online, people use these all very differently than what we've got
Mhm.
them defined, so it was confusing.
Yeah, and it's right here in front of it, right? And we're all ready, yeah, so
Yeah.
quite comical. Yeah, I'd use my whistle on myself, but. All right, so we've already gone through this. So with that being said, what is it you would like clearly defined? You say it, cause I'm done with the Ps.
Oh, she's got it. We've already voted and it's being done as amended. If we
Yeah.
should look into it,
Clear as
and
bell.
it will
Good,
be fine.
lovely.
Thank you, Lisa.
So, Lisa's under her mask laughing because she's like, we've already done it all. Stop talking now. All right, so Schedule A. No changes to Schedule A?
I think we've
Well,
already
we
done
had
those, right?
previously discussed the, under item 5,
Yeah,
the second Tuesday
Mm-hmm.
at 6 p.m. and adding,
or as required.
or as required, yes.
Required. So that's our only change.
Did we want to add open house, public engagement to our working principles?
That's what I'm thinking too,
Jonathan?
yeah.
If you'd like.
It'd be good to outline it. A new council could then see it at least as something that they can identify with. And say, oh, that rolls into our wheelhouse, right?
Yeah.
So do you want it
So just-
where the delegations and presentations have open houses and?
Mhm.
Yeah, so receive delegation presentation, then just a new bullet point of hold open houses and other public engagement opportunities.
Yeah.
May.
Yeah.
May
Yeah,
hold.
conduct
Yeah.
open
Yeah, we already got
houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, on that point as well, because I know that's not an exhaustive list about what we would be discussing,
No,
you know, those are the high points. Would it be also a place that we would consider including, to keep it on our radar, strategic priorities as well?
It's there, but it's,
Mhm.
it's.
It's
it
called
needs-
strategic planning, it's not quite,
Is that what I put it on there? Oh.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
that
have it
was
at
one of-
development matters, strategic planning, I'm just wondering if we should,
It
what
was
do you think,
supposed to be its
Cindy?
own bullet point, I have that on my notes for
Okay.
typos, that strategic planning was supposed to be its own
Okay,
bullet point.
perfect, if we can drop it down.
I would
Yeah.
like to see it as a bullet point as well, because if there was a strategic planning event, this is where it would also take place.
Yeah, that was just a typo.
I think probably the best way to do that is just put development matters, planning, and then on its own have
Strategic
strategic
priorities.
priorities.
I agree,
Is that
thank you.
okay?
That's perfect.
Love it.
Yeah.
You noticed that too, eh, Cindy?
Okay. And we will have to schedule a strategic planning session with new council,
Mhm.
within the first 6 months to look at, the new council's wishes, as we move forward. So
I did
that's
it.
something that we'll have coming down the pipe. Deputy Mayor?
When you talk about recommending committees, appointments, we're not going to be doing like when somebody wants to be a member at large on a committee, that we go through that application, cause wouldn't that be redundant if we're doing that at committee of the whole? Because you have to ratify, you have to appoint them at council.
Go ahead, Heather. Or-
Okay, the reason for this is what we would do is if you, say you have 5 people that apply for 1 vacancy on your library board. So before your organizational meeting, because that's when you do that, this would give council an opportunity to go through who's applied and which boards you'd like to put them on. So say you've got these 5 people, you've got one really good person that you know that would do good,
will
that's who you want on there, so then you make your case for that, and then, so when you come to your organizational meeting,
Just
you
do
would
it.
have that recommendation already. So you don't have to discuss it at the organizational meeting, you've already made those decisions. It also gives you guys an opportunity that if you wanna switch which committees you're on, then you can discuss it amongst yourselves and.
Good idea.
They're really, all relative town business, and it's no different than we use in our employment agreements. Other duties as required, right? So don't spend too much time trying to pigeonhole what you're going to do with these. Really, you can do whatever you like. So I think you've added to the list very nicely. Like, yeah, the more points you put on there, the more you're trying to specify exactly what it's going to do, and really leave yourself some freedom, because you can utilize it however we want to,
That's
whatever.
less than many.
Yeah, I just thought it might be redundant, cause you can't appoint them, you have to wait till, cause we always do it
You can only
sometimes during the
recommend.
middle of the year.
Yeah,
So it makes, we're doing what we did with the finance committee all over again, we're doing it twice.
Yeah.
That was my only point on
yeah.
if we're
No.
going members at large.
Well,
Mhm.
have your discussion and then you can make the recommendation, so you don't have to have the discussion in council.
No.
Because both meetings are in public, so you're not hiding anything.
Is the word relative or relevant?
Oh yeah, that's the wrong term there.
You can use both, it depends how you use it.
Where are you looking?
Oh, it's
Sorry,
relative
Melanie.
town, Matt, any other relative town, yeah.
Is it relative
That
or
should be relevant.
Actually, just take
What's
the
that?
word right out, any
Yeah.
other town, Matt, and any other town business, period.
That's right, it's redundant.
Yeah.
Where is that?
Under number 6,
Is it
this
redundant
final
or
bullet point, number
repetitive?
6. Any other relative, that should be relevant.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Relevant.
Any other
Gonna-
relevant?
Issue
we're going to-
occupication, is that what we're saying?
Yeah, right. Okay. The list is checked.
I have one other spelling. Just
What other spelling? Second
on
committee.
8, shall receive committee per diem, is that the right term?
Mhm.
Is it committee per diem, is that,
That's what we call them.
we
Yeah.
call it committee per diem?
Council committee per
Just
diem.
meeting per diem,
Yeah.
okay.
We can take committee out of there.
Just per diem.
Shall
Or
receive per
meeting
diem.
per diem.
I actually very much appreciate Counselor Holiday's input. It's
You're
good
not
to know
laughing
that
at
you're
me.
looking
It's
at
there.
it
Barry's laughing at me.
honestly.
I love it.
Yeah.
What document are we on?
It's lovely.
Because I'm on 8 and that's.
We're on a
Yeah.
T,
Eight.
TOR,
Yeah.
Oh,
number,
financial resources.
So we're ready for a recommendation,
we're-
on Schedule A.
On the bylaw. Schedule A is just a part of the bylaw.
Yeah, let me scroll back to the top here. 21-11-20. That's where we're at now, correct?
Yes.
To amend council committee's bylaw by removing 2R for FAC and GPAC and establishing the COW. Alright, can I get a recommendation from council?
I can give you that.
Alright. Do we have it written anywhere here? Nice
Is
and
it this
clean?
one here, council
Or is this
procedure
in the-
bylaw number 21-118 and bylaw number 21-112 to amend
Yep.
council committee bylaws by dissolving
2-0,
the
yeah.
finance advisory and governance and priorities advisory committee and establish a council committee of the whole?
You can skip the,
Can I say that?
the 1118.
Oh, yeah,
We've
the
already done
1118.
that.
Yeah. I don't do it.
Amend bylaw dissolving.
There's not a real, I can't find the
No.
motion.
Are you
I
wanting?
don't think there is a motion there.
No.
We did, yeah, we didn't do any,
There wasn't
Recommend to council, to send bylaw 21-120 to council for consideration.
Sounds good to me.
Straight
of all
up.
3 readings.
I second that,
Yeah.
For all three?
potentially. I think Robbie should,
To
Robbie,
consider.
Robbie missed it today.
Yeah, that's right. For first reading.
The only reason we're asking for
Potentially
all
3.
3 is so that we can get the advertising and notification up to the public in a timely manner before this starts in January.
I'm cool with all three.
I'm,
Well, it
I'm
needs to
moving
be
towards
reserved.
trying to advertise
do it.
and make things
Okay.
The more
So
very
streamlined.
much available to the public so they know where.
recommendations for all three readings at the next regular council meeting, or December 2nd.
You recommend that Bob.
Six.
Yeah, yeah,
Six.
that Councillor Rob initiates the process.
Six.
Rob.
Rabbi.
Six,
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
seven.
it's meeting.
December 6th?
Yeah.
Budget's on 7th.
Yeah.
Okay,
In the day.
we have a recommendation. No further debate. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And does that not clue us up?
Yeah, the others just receive as information, or it's just for our benefit, right? This,
That's correct. The rest was just for reference points for you.
Councillor calendar.
oh, look at that, adjourned.
All right, so new business, we have
Yes,
none?
yes, we
Oh.
have new business.
Oh. What is?
Committee recommends to council on the sixth meeting to,
December 6th.
December sixth, to look at changing the date of the council meeting on December 20th,
Oh, right.
due to the fact that at least 3 members of council may not be available that night.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I might, this is gonna be an interesting challenge because our first meeting in January will be fourth or fifth.
January? There's a thing here that tells us the first one in January will be on the 3rd, and that's got a little grey thing on it, which means we might be moving
The
it.
third is the Monday.
Yeah.
The fifth is the Wednesday.
And
Your
we'll go
bylaw
Wednesday,
says the first Wednesday now, effective January 1.
Assuming we pass
That's
the
my
current.
birthday.
Yeah.
I would have voted against it had
It's
I
going
known
to
I
be
was
a very challenging agenda to put together, since many of your administrative team will actually not be here in the week and a half in advance of that meeting, so, we have to figure out what to do, so we actually were looking at 20th, think we could, I don't know that we can, what did we have to?
Well, if we
put up?
moved it ahead,
The 20th, I suppose we could do this on the 6th, wow. The idea was you would approve your interim budget on December 20th.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but if we're meeting on the 2nd, and we get everything done, because it's only an interim, we're gonna change the whole thing anyway.
Well, and that's my issue, if you meet on the 2nd and change the whole thing, to get it back on your plate for the 6th might be a bit of a challenge.
No, I don't, what I mean is, if we pass an interim budget, it can be actually, the interim budget can be the budget we've got now, with no changes.
It could, yeah, it could.
Yeah.
But the
Point of us-
changes
The
that,
point of us cramming budget meetings in is so that we can at least tighten it up a little closer
Yeah,
before we
but
pass.
the few changes that we were looking at the other day, yesterday,
Yeah.
if they come to the meeting on the 2nd, and we're in basic agreement on the 2nd, then there's no reason why it couldn't come to the 6th. If we're nowhere near in agreement on the 2nd, then it won't come to the 6th, it will come to the 20th or whenever.
Yeah,
The only thing
I
with
feel
that
like we're
is
gonna
your
have a
package
really-
is done Thursday.
with that taxes?
No, your package is done on that Thursday
Thank you.
for the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is the only monkey wrench in that one. Or you could just reschedule your 20th to the week prior
That's
Would-
what
do
we're
it
Put it on
looking
the
at.
17th.
on
The
the
17th is
16th,
what I-
We were gonna ask
15th
for
or
the,
16th.
we were gonna ask for the 16th,
15th or 16th.
16th Thursday gives you one extra day, but 15th is also good.
With
yeah, I
our
would
only,
prefer that than canceling the 20th, because in all likelihood, like I said, I don't know what you're going to have for an agenda on January 3rd. It just,
I
I'm
can't see it
sorry,
being
it's
big.
over meeting, I just
I
would
think
like to-
I
Um,
can't see it even
cancel that
being
one.
existing.
well,
I've seen my staff calendar for all.
Yeah.
I would be fine with the 16th because I think December 2nd, and I'm just projecting my own thought, we're gonna have really robust discussion about budget.
Yep.
And we're gonna come out of that with some clear directions. It's not gonna be wishy-washy. You're gonna see there's a majority going for this, and there's clearly no appetite for that, and there is appetite, and there's none for that. I think we're gonna be very, very decisive with what you brought before us. so if there's a few things to juggle after that, I think that by the 16th we'd have it in place.
I have another plan.
Well, now you're just throwing monkey wrenches.
You have the meeting on the 2nd.
Yeah.
You move your 6th to the 13th, and you cancel the 20th.
Can't be
Yeah.
done,
Public hearing.
We
can't be
can't.
done, we already advertised public hearing for
Okay.
December sixth.
That was not a good idea.
That was a good idea, unfortunately, we have a public hearing on that one.
Yeah. So that's, you know,
15th.
so I think that 16th is a good.
We're just
a good
recommending
fit.
to bring this to council for discussion, right?
Yeah.
We're not actually making any motions
That's
today
right,
anyways,
that's right,
right?
yeah.
That's right.
15th, we've
All
got
we're
West
asking
End
for
in the
is to be able
afternoon,
to
but that's no
bring it
problem, because
forward
we'll
to
be
the
meeting
council
in
meeting.
the evening.
We're gonna take that recommendation there, Councillor Dixon, for the 16th, to be brought forward to council.
Well, forward for discussion.
December
Because
on
he
the
just jumped
6th.
in on my motion.
He
Yeah, I
did.
did, it was his
He
motion to
did.
begin with.
It's gone, man.
But I'm just
surprised
trying
I
to
haven't
stop
got
the debate
re-elected
because we're
'cause
not,
nobody
we weren't
listened.
asking, that's all I was doing was trying to stop the debate because we weren't asking for debate right now, we were just asking, or he was just asking.
He started it. He started it. You're
Council-
finishing it.
Council Waring
Good
started.
job.
so-
Good job.
Him.
Okay, so we're good. Waring says the 16th of December to next council for discussion. All in favor?
Aye,
So 6th and 16th, is that correct?
potentially,
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at.
Okay.
We'll find out.
yet to be discussed.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
Right.
It's a discussion
Oh, cool.
point at the
Present to the
council
meeting.
meeting.
All right, and
Are we adjoined?
I believe that
It's the end.
no other business.
No, that was more than I bargained for.
We are adjourned. You may stop the recording. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in
Oh, we
to
didn't get past 9
Live
o'clock.
Turn of Evil.
Keep going.
Jeez.
Just gotta go a little bit more, right?
So
Need the
just so
money.
council knows I'm not here Monday, just so